Hey everyone, it's Andrew. In the last tutorial we took a look at how to set up zones within the XGrid system, and this time we're going to take a look at how we can add new characters so that we can have a variety of units, different capabilities in our game. The first thing that we're going to want to do is navigate to the enums folder and click on units. In this example, we're going to be making a player unit, but if you were making an enemy unit, you would add it to the enemy unit enumeration instead. But let's go ahead and open up the player units enumeration. We're going to go ahead and click this button up here, New, and we're going to type in the name of our new unit. For this example, we're going to add a duplicate of an existing unit, but we'll go through each step for how that unit was set up. So let's go ahead and call this new unit FreeN2. So this will be a copy of this character up here, but like I said, we're going to break down all the steps that we need in order to get that character from concept to existing in our game. Now that we have the enumeration filled out, we can go ahead and navigate back to our main folder. From here, we'll go ahead and go to the units folder. We're going to hover over our player unit blueprint. What we'll do is we'll right click that and we'll click this button here, create child blueprint class, and we're going to give this blueprint the same name as the enumeration name that we just filled out. So FreeN2. We'll go ahead and hit enter. Now that we have the child blueprint set up, we can double click it to open it up. And we'll go ahead and select a skeletal mesh for it. Over here in the details panel, you'll see that we have some options for the different animation types that we want to use, as well as the skeletal mesh. So we'll go ahead and select the skeletal mesh for FreeN. That looks good. If we go to our viewport, we can see that our character has been selected. The next thing that we want to do is fill out the animations for this character. We'll go ahead and do that by clicking on the main component here, the root component, and we'll scroll down to animations. Now there are a lot of different animations to give different details to the actions that your units can perform. The ones on the screen right now are the essential ones. Any other ones besides these are just going to add nice details to the different actions that our units can take. So without delay, let's go ahead and start filling these out. I have my animations nicely named after our character here, ready to be filled in. So we'll go ahead and fill these in one by one. These are the basic animations that we have filled out, but let's go ahead and add some different hit animations so that our character has different animations that they play when they receive damage. And finally, we'll go ahead and give a death animation as well. Excellent. Now that we have our animations filled out, we can go ahead and compile. And we'll move on to the next step. We can actually go back to our overview. We're going to go back to our main folder. From the main folder, we'll go ahead and select databases. We'll go to character data table. So now that we're in the character data table, what we can do is we can hit this add button and we'll add a new row that will represent our new character. So what we want to do is give this row name the same name as the blueprint and the enumeration that we made earlier. So let's go ahead and fill out these fields. We'll give this character some health, mana, maybe a movement speed of 6, an attack range of 2, and just some random stats for the agility, dexterity, intelligence, and these other things. That seems fine. Maybe a little bit of evasion. In the name column here, we're also going to want to fill out the same name as the enumeration, the blueprint name, and the row name. And then we'll set the character's current health. Let's just give her max health and max mana. We'll select a little side portrait here. And this will appear when you right click on the character and you see their overlay. And finally, let's add some skills and some items. So I'm going to click this little plus here, this add element to this array. And I'll just select a couple items just to demonstrate how to do so. Oh, whoops, I think I selected the same item. Let's go ahead and select a different one. And we'll do the same thing for skills. Let's give this character maybe Fireball, Shock Blast, and Necrosis, and maybe this skill as well. Maybe one more. You can give the character as many items and skills as you'd like. Let's go with Incinerate. Alright, so we have sort of a mage, maybe caster build here for this character, which is fine. And now we can move on to the next step. Back in the main grid folder, we're going to go ahead and go back to our blueprint here. And we're going to go ahead and go to our skeletal mesh. Where it says units animation blueprint, we'll go ahead and use automation asset, or sorry, use automation asset, and we'll say to play the idle animation at the beginning. If we switch to the viewport, we'll see that our character is now taking the pose and using her idle animation. So the next thing that we might want to do is add a weapon to this character. And we can do that pretty easily. All we have to do is go to our skeletal mesh. In the skeletal mesh view, we'll go ahead and click on skeleton. And we'll look at the skeleton tree. Let's go ahead and search for the hand, the left hand, the right hand. Put the weapon in the right hand. And what we'll do here is we'll simply say add socket. And that'll put a nice area for us to put our weapon when we go back and do that inside of the blueprint. So now that we've made the socket, we can start to add a weapon to this character. Let's go ahead and go to add component, and we'll search for a skeletal mesh. You can also use a static mesh for your weapon if you choose. We're going to make sure that it's a child component of the skeletal mesh here. And we'll call this one weapon 2. So what we can do is select a weapon. Let's say the crude hammer that we have for the original unit. And we're going to go to this sockets tab right here where it says parent socket. We're going to search for that hand socket that we made earlier. As you can see, it's sort of snapped to that socket, but the rotation is a little bit off. I think that the scale might be a little bit too big for this character, so let's go ahead and shrink down that hammer, and we can rotate it. And all we're going to do is we're just going to try and move it around a little bit so that it looks like the character is holding it a little bit more. Depending on how far away you are from the camera, these little discrepancies, like the fact that she isn't technically grasping the weapon, might become less obvious. So don't worry too much if you don't get it absolutely perfect. On the battlefield, it'll look like she's holding it. And I think I'm going to try and rotate it just a little bit so that it looks like she's kind of holding it in a more sturdy position. We'll maybe adjust it just a little bit more. It can be a little tough to navigate it while she's moving, but I think we did an alright job. Alright, so now we have everything set up for this character. All we need to do is spawn the character on the grid. So let's go ahead and do that in the level blueprint. We'll go ahead and go back to our overview and open it up. And just like in the first tutorial, all we really have to do here is grab our grid variable. I'll actually drag and drop it off of from the variables tab over there. I'm going to say spawn player unit. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and select our new character from this drop-down menu. We'll select the character class as well. Now, we don't want to spawn two units on top of each other, so let's go ahead and spawn this character at 0, 1, so that the two units are one cell apart. And we'll maintain our one enemy for now. Let's go back to the overview and check it out. Alright, so inside the simulation we can see that our new character unit is loaded up. It has the same name and stat values that we assigned it in the database, which is good. And it has all the same items and skills that we assigned in the database as well. So let's go ahead and have this unit move around, and we'll just double check to make sure that everything's working. And maybe we can try and finish off this enemy in style with a skill. Let's do incinerate. And we'll just have it target this unit right here. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys found this video helpful. In the next tutorial, we'll take a look at how you can add your own custom skills to the framework. I'll see you then. Take care.